Hey everybody, welcome
Hi.
to Goshen Prepping. It's one of those nights. Yes, a night for a live stream.
Woohoo.
Let's see if we can get my ducks in order here. There we go. Welcome to the channel, everybody. It's finally, we're able to go live. So we have internet tonight.
Yes, finally.
We have power tonight.
We do have power. We have all the above. It's a happy night.
You know, and it's funny because we paid for, well, according to this, nobody's come in the house yet. So
Are we live?
hopefully-
I'm here.
Yeah, it says,
Okay.
there we go. Yeah, Chillin' Penguin
Okay.
Army. Once Chillin' Penguin Army arrives, you know you're live. Okay, so we're good.
We know we're here. You know
Last week, I mean, the thing is, we pay extra to have some really nice, fast-speed internet out here in the middle of nowhere, which is amazing for the fact that we live so far out that we actually have fiber optic internet, and it went down.
Yeah, it was down for 2.5 days.
And the ironic irony is that their main hub system that provides the internet was overheating.
Yeah, and it was like
Minus
minus something.
82 below.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Hey, everybody. Lots of people coming in the house tonight. We have Chillin' Penguin Army, Redfish, Texas, Phil, a.k.a. Mr. Landfill, TJF, Highball. Are you talking about the Highball soda drinks or the Highball liquor drink? D says, Hound Dog Howdy.
Sounds funny either way.
Hound Dog Howdy do too. Kim's Cluckers, hello, our friend Kim. For him, hello. Ann and Joe, hello. USMC, hello. Nicholas, hello. Moam, howdy.
Lots of hellos.
How we doing? We're good, Phil. How are you? Guess what I did, Phil? Say for the first time. Guess what I did, Phil? Guess what I did?
What did we do?
I turned the furnace on.
We did.
I finished it. My son and I finished it. We both worked on it together and actually had it running for quite a bit tonight. But it's still one of those things where I still have to put a couple vents in and stuff like that. So right now I turned it off. But the house actually started getting warm without a fire.
I know. Which, poor Toby, he went over and he goes, wow, what is this thing on the floor? It's heat. And I realized he has never seen that. He's
never
only been around a wood stove his entire life.
Yeah, so if you don't know him, he's one of our little guys. He's never lived in a house that actually had heat.
It's always been a wood stove. So it was really funny for him. I was
was
like, what's
like-
such a big deal about it? And I was like, oh.
I was like, is it nice and warm? He goes, no, it's hot. So that's good. You want it to be hot unless it's on fire. All right, how's our little Valentine doing?
I think she just woke up.
Oh, Naomi's going to get her.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me. I should have made a cup of tea. I apologize. All right, lots of people coming in. So good to see everybody. How's everybody's preps going? How's everybody's weekend going?
Ugh,
it's
it's
nice.
been long.
It's nice having live stream on Sunday nights, but that means once it's over, Monday morning begins.
Yeah.
That's no fun.
No. It's a busy Monday.
What are you drinking there tonight?
I have a spiced apple Waterloo. It was, everybody says it tastes like those veggie straws, like apple straws. It's really
Really?
good. You don't like it. Everybody in the family doesn't like it, but I really like them, so they're really good.
No, not good.
They are. Take it back. It's good.
Ooh, Robin from North Georgia Mountains. We love North Georgia Mountains.
We do. We went to what park? The camping park we stayed at.
Vogel.
Vogel Park. Oh,
Vogel
that
State
was
Park.
so much fun. Hi, Goshen.
Yeah, Robin, I know about this whole thing with Disease X. I wonder if they're doing that trying to just shut down Twitter. You know, by calling it Disease X. Get it? You guys
Yeah.
aren't even paying attention.
No, I got a cute baby.
Yep.
I got it. I just
Excuse me.
Hi, everyone.
Can we talk about the ammo shortage?
Oh, I
It's
didn't
interesting. You know, I haven't seen any ammo shortages here, but I haven't really been looking either.
No, we haven't.
Like, last time I was in the ammo section, like at Walmart, they had plenty.
Yeah.
But I haven't shopped there in a few weeks, so I don't know. But she is gorgeous. Hi, little lady. How are you?
The kitties are okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, kitties are beautiful.
They're
Kids are
causing
beautiful.
trouble.
Everything's going very well. Everybody, this is Naomi, the Knowledge Realm.
Hello.
If you come to our Goshen News videos, she's the one. Hi, who's you staring at, you baby? She's the one that's always on there moderating that for me.
I'm the voice in the distance.
She's like, what, you talking to me?
Ooh, it's freezing drizzle, Mary.
Oof.
That's not good. We're actually supposed to have
More
rain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're supposed to have snow,
Again.
and they said up to 3 or 4 inches in the next few days.
We've already got 14, 16 inches out there at least.
Maybe even 18.
I don't know. It's so bad.
But then it's supposed to rain, and then next week's supposed to be in the 40s with rain.
Yeah.
So,
Who knows?
but you think, oh, it's going to melt some snow, but what it does is turns everything into a horrible, mushy, slushy mess.
They don't plow our roads very well, so it's really bad.
Oh, good one.
Say, excuse you. Excuse you.
Wash Tub Dolly from Florida. Hello. What part of Florida are you in, Washtub Dolly? We know Florida very, very well.
It's a drink.
The Chilling Penguin Army had a question.
Oh,
Oh, did I didn't see it. Oh, right. Yeah, so here's it. So, any difference between canned goods and glass jar goods in the term of longevity? Yeah, I mean, there is for sure. Goods and bads on both sides. For example, canned goods, getting acidic stuff will still last practically forever, but it will make it taste metallic-y. If you actually home can it, it gets away from that, which is nice. Home canning, you can actually can practically everything, but there is always that possibility of botulism or the seal messing up. But we find as long as you stick to the numbers, it does just fine. But if you ever open your jar up, and I mean, the thing is, once you pack the jar away, you shouldn't ever have to take the lid off, or the screw ring shouldn't be on there anyway. Or if it is, it's light.
Well, it actually stores better if you don't keep the ring on it once the seal is on it. So,
but I mean,
unless you save it.
I guess it comes down to this: canning, home canning and manufacturing canning, in a lot of ways, came around about the same time. As far as like perfecting the technique of killing everything inside the can and making it sterile. So both obviously have their advantages, and the simplest way is it's super quick and easy to just buy cans from the store. However, when you can your own stuff, you know you're not getting any nasty ingredients, which are sometimes put into the...
Yeah, they put weird stuff in canned goods. I don't get it, some of the stuff. It makes no sense to me. I mean, I get like the salt and stuff like that, but they just put random stuff like, I don't know, it's weird.
Ooh, Peter Barbaria says it's 98 there in Australia.
Ooh, that's warm.
That's a little toasty.
But you got kangaroos, right? You said Australia, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They do have kangaroos.
You have kangaroos, so that makes up for it.
Any pet kangaroos? That's my question.
Yeah. Do we
You
have
want to
any?
get kicked.
Yeah, I get
I
kicked.
love kangaroos.
Oh my gosh, Beaker.
Beaker?
Todd Moore. I love your picture. It's Beaker.
Oh, I was like, what?
Kim, we actually have gone to that store a few times in Colinville. I've actually never bought their ammo there before, though.
You look like Daddy. Maybe that's what someone said.
Clutch Cargo. Should I try to eat more or less before crap hits the fan? I think I should be eating less so I can get used to eating less. Or should I pack the pounds on now while I have a lot of food? No, because the stuff you're packing on is not healthy for you. I would take we try to take everything like a training lesson of being ready for crap hits the fan, and eating less is definitely the way to go, because you want to be able to go, you want to know what you're able to do and not do as far as eating goes when crap hits the fan. But again, when crap hits the fan, you're going to be putting a lot more energy out. I don't think you should be putting on weight ever, if possible. Trying to lose the weight and try to stay in shape is always your best way to go.
Except when you have a baby and then the weight's there.
Pure Blood, do you go to any local prepper meetups? Oh yeah, we have. We haven't been in a while. I was talking on our other channel the other day, and I said, it's really amazing. In martial arts, we had a new family sign up, and the dad was like, "Oh, I know you. I've seen you before. You're that prepping channel." And I said, "Yeah." And we get this in our town all the time, which is kind of funny. But anyway, he came up to me and he goes, "Hey, can I ask you something?" I said, "Sure." And he goes, "Do you really do all that prepper stuff you guys talk about?" I'm like, "Of course I do. We did all this stuff for years and years before we actually decided to make a channel, which we could teach other people how to do these things." And I said, the ironic thing is, now that I spend so much time with a channel, prepping and editing and looking for the topics and everything, I actually spend less time doing the prepping stuff that I enjoy doing. So there's irony for you. You start a prepping channel and become less of a prepper. Obviously, I still prep like crazy, but I don't. I guess before I had a lot of extra time to do that. Whoops. Must be the cat.
Fed Up said, "Hey y'all, wanted to share that Dollar Tree has all types of milk in large cartons that are good for about a year shelf life."
Oh, is it the foil milk cartons? I don't know if you could hear the knowledge roam over there.
Hi.
But somebody said that the Dollar Tree has the milk cartons that last for a year, so they've got to be the foil cartons.
Yeah.
When I was in the military, in NATO, that's what we had. We always had those things. And I've heard that they actually last indefinitely, but I definitely cannot corroborate that. Because when they actually, I think they either heat it or they irradiate it. I can't remember. But it breaks down the enzymes that make the milk spoil, not to mention the bacteria in there as well. Make some videos doing preps. Yeah, Dawn, that's actually my plan. That's what I would like to do. But what?
Doing preps?
Yeah, actually showing some of the preps that we do, doing things. We do. I mean, we do show that stuff. But, I mean, I'll give you my schedule. I get up in the morning, have caffeine, just kind of like read the emails, respond to emails, which I get countless emails every day from followers, countless. And I like responding to them. And it's funny because if they just read a couple sentences like, hey, could you answer this for me? Or how are you doing? I'm happy to answer it. But sometimes I get a life story of like 35 pages. And I look at it and it's like, there's no way I have time to read that. I would love to. Then after that, I start doing some research what I'm going to make in the video for that day. Get a shower, have breakfast.
Yeah.
Film.
Yeah, help with school and...
Yeah, help with school. Work on chores, like putting a furnace in. And then literally get the video out, do the live stream, and then it's dinner time, then off to martial arts the rest of the evening. Yeah. So basically my life has turned into, I sit at my desk a lot. And that's why I look forward to martial arts, is because then it gives me my outlet to be able to go kick things and stuff and get rid of the aggravations. I like kicking things.
Yeah. I stared Taekwondo last.
Naomi started it, or she started. Naomi's almost a black belt.
Yeah. She's just a
which
Yeah.
I've only sparred her once, and I was like, yeah, she's pretty darn good.
Kicks.
Very good.
I can
It's
kick
fun.
people in the head.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's something really enjoyable about kicking people in the head.
That's true.
It really is. It's fun, especially if you can do it with the number one and they don't see it coming.
Yeah.
Have you perfected your number one front kick or round kick?
I can. I just don't like to.
That's the black belt kick right there, because people don't see it coming. There's something about in your periphery, you don't see the kick coming up right in the face.
I do one to the stomach, one to the head.
Oh, repeating round kick?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
D said no pet kangaroos, but pet skunks.
Oh, that's so funny. I love pet skunks. I would have a pet skunk.
And then someone said you look amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You.
Yeah, it said Ashley, not Eric.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, so honestly, I probably should research about that milk to see how long it goes past the expiration date. But in the military, we had them for years, I know, and they were just fine.
Yeah, it's probably the foil containers of milk. I don't know.
That's not what they're talking about. All right. Ellie wants to know what milk you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what name it
Yeah,
is.
somebody else brought it up.
Yeah.
I forgot
At the dollar store, they are carrying...
They have it at Walmart too.
Oh, she's just saying it's at the dollar store now. So,
Yep.
I don't know.
Hello, Kenneth from Clovis, New Mexico. Are you having nice weather down there? It's right now. It is
I think it's like
13 degrees.
Yeah, 3. I think it's 3 degrees.
No, it says 3 inches of snow.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, we're supposed to get like three more inches.
It's
tonight.
cold. That's all I can say.
It is definitely chillaxing out there.
I had the sun. We haven't had. I mean, the sun's been out the last few days, but prior to that, it was like almost 3 weeks straight of just overcast, no sun. I had to sun some diapers, and so I threw some out there on the deck today. And of course, it being so cold, they froze, so they were frozen diapers. But hey, took care of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
We had a question up ahead I wanted to say before I disappeared.
Okay.
Someone said, did you notice that there's more water in canned foods?
Yes.
More liquid?
Yes. I opened a can of beans that I recently bought. I was making chili last week, and the kids brought up a bunch of cans, and I had one from a while ago and then one from the last trip I went to, and the amount of liquid and the amount of beans in the cans were surprisingly very different.
I see a question from Antibiotic. What can I do to keep my bottled water from freezing without having electricity full time? There's a few things you can do. Number one, since water has what's called a high specific heat, it needs a lot of heat to be able to make it, warmer finally into boiling and steam, but also it has to remove a lot of heat for it to go into freezing. There's actually a trick if you have a greenhouse to try to keep it warmer, is put like 55-gallon drums of water in there, and it'll actually help retain the heat, kind of like ceramic bricks. Think of it that way. So I know this is a really weird statement, but if you can put these bottled waters close to your bed or in your bed while you sleep at night, it'll actually help prevent from sleeping. Yeah, probably from sleeping, from freezing.
Underneath your bed, maybe.
Right. But the biggest thing is, if you're looking at for more long term, if you don't have anything to keep it warm from freezing, your only option is to bury them. So you have to go below the frost line, which wherever your frost line is for your location. For us, it's
far
42 inches. Yeah, 42 inches our frost line. And if you get below that 42 inches, it doesn't freeze down there. And that is one option you do as well. Let's see. Definitely more water in the Aldi brand than others. I mean, it makes sense though,
that
because
would make sense.
Water is like insanely cheap, and corn is more expensive than water. So it makes sense they would actually put less corn and more water in there.
Yeah, I was just surprised with the beans, like I said, and they were all-day beans. They were one from, I think, a year and a half ago, or I actually got them during COVID, and then I got ones from this, and they were like a big difference of how much water they were. So,
from Lyra, if you show any prepping, could you do one with your pets? I'm worried that I don't have enough for them. Yeah, I mean, with the pets, I'm not against that by any means. But the biggest thing is dry pet food will go bad. I don't care if you put it in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber, it's going to go bad. However, canned pet food is just like canned human food and therefore will remain like that indefinitely. Now, same thing, I would try to get it so your dog's on a diet or whatever pet you have. So you're going to have to ration out. But one of the best things to do is if you have any leftovers yourself, try to get it so your animal will get.
If you have chili, you can
leftovers.
give your dog chili. I mean, they may not smell great, but at least their dog would have
Yeah,
something
then
to eat.
having your room at night with
Yeah.
their
And keep everybody warm.
We got a super chat from Leanne Trevino for $20. Thank you. Says, kiss the baby cheek for me.
Aw, Sarah, what kisses? Kisses.
I noticed her, which cheek is it? Her right cheek, she loves to have kissed more. She wants that can.
Yeah, she wants. She's at the grabby stage now, which is really funny.
Which is cute.
Someone
Maria.
asked earlier, what are your thoughts? Do you think there's going to be a what's it called?
Oh, a draft?
Yes.
I saw that. Thank you.
I was like-
Do I think there's going to be a draft? I don't think we have any choice but to make a draft. Now, if you want my guess as far as what's going to happen, I'm going to make a video about this week, by the way, that everybody keeps talking about. The chatter everywhere is talking about some type of event that's going to happen, a Black Swan event. And there's nothing like a Black Swan event, like 9/11, like Pearl Harbor, like the Gulf of Tonkin, to get people to volunteer quickly to defend our country. And of course, we want to be able to defend our country. And I think if they play this Black Swan event correctly, you're going to have more volunteers than anything, because of course our volunteer enlistments are exceedingly low right now. They're literally have open billets. We don't have enough people to fill them. But if there is some type of Black Swan event, I shudder to think what that Black Swan event would be. In fact, you know what? Let's do this, guys. Let's go through a nightly poll. If we're going to have a Black Swan event, which if you didn't know what that is, by the way, a Black Swan event is something that literally could be major or even catastrophic, happen right before us, which takes us by shock. Wow, look, this happened. But with hindsight, you'll look at and say, yeah, I guess that makes sense. That, of course that happened. So in hindsight, it's very clear, 2020, that obviously it's going to happen. But until it happens, you don't really think about it too much, maybe a little bit. But once it happens, you're like, wow, that's crazy. So that's a Black Swan event. If we have a Black Swan event, guys, let me ask you, what do you think it would be? No, let's see what they say. I know you're thinking. I can see your gears turning right there. So put it in the comments. What kind of Black Swan events do you think we're going to have?
Somebody asked, do you think we're going to draft women? Is another.
Yes, I almost guarantee they're going to do that. Honestly, I think one of the things with this gender fluidity and trans stuff that's being pushed is one of the things also that basically makes it that shows, well, obviously, if you have it, there's no such thing as gender, then anybody can be drafted.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things. Not to mention, it's been pushed numerous times trying to get women in the draft anyway. And so I think it is just a matter of time before women are drafted as well.
Which kind of frustrates me, but...
All right, so we have solar flare. I certainly see a solar flare coming. An EMP. Let's see, nuclear. Yeah, nuclear is definitely a big one. Let's see. Oh, you do Cali? I love Cali, Texas, Rob. I don't do a lot of Cali. In fact, one of my next trainings I was about to do is start picking up Cali. It's awesome. Nuke, EMP, grid attack, cyber attack on the electric grid. Honestly, I think that our power grid is probably going to be one of the biggest catastrophic things that's going to happen. And a lot of people are saying that too. Grid down, grid down, grid down. That's what I think personally. Let's see. Cyber warfare is actually one of the biggest things that our experts, if you want to call them that, in this country are concerned about. Certainly. Wow. Sean, I survived living in my car at negative 56 Celsius last week.
Ooh.
That's chilly, Sean.
Yeah. That's a little chill.
Speaking of which, Kentucky Honey says, what kind of things in car supplies won't be affected by hot or cold weather?
What kind of things that you put in your car will not be affected?
Yeah.
Well, first off, any type of liquid or water-based object in your car certainly could be affected by cold or heat. And it really is both. Obviously, it'll freeze at night, which could rupture it. But I know, like when I lived in Florida once, I had a cooler with a bunch of sodas in it, and I left it in the back of my car for a couple of days after I went to the beach and came back and they exploded in the cooler.
Yeah, that was fun.
And so, yeah, so anything liquid-based will certainly be affected. Electronics If you get below freezing, electronics can be affected.
Yeah.
However, it's no guarantee they will be. Obviously, your car has electronics, and it survives going below zero quite often.
Blue, get down.
How long does bottled water last?
That's a good question. The water itself in bottled water lasts indefinitely. And hello, Blue. Welcome to the video tonight. We tell the cats all the time.
She was playing in the. This cat sits in the water bowl and plays with it. I don't understand this cat. She loves to play in the water bowl.
But the water in the bottled water will last. It's just fine. However, you do worry about plastination of actually the plastics infiltrating the water over time. And we're talking about a year or two at a room temperature. If it gets hotter, it happens even faster. Yeah, and I did see DeSantis backed out. I saw that in the news this morning.
We have a fun question.
All right, fun question.
If you could choose one person to lead the world, who would you choose?
Me. If I could choose one person to lead the world, who would it be? Boy.
That is a good question.
I don't know.
I don't have a question. I don't have an answer.
I don't have an answer for that either.
Pee-wee.
Pee Wee Herman, he's dead, Naomi.
Wait, he died?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean. We do need funny people, more funny people.
That's funny.
Well, the Argentinian president was a comedian.
Really?
Yeah. He did some comedy work. And he's awesome. Okay. He's the guy.
I'll take
Argentina needs a president like that.
What's your opinion on defunding the immigrants and closing the border?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, closing the border is our utmost importance. However, we're already, it's kind of like too little too late now. Defunding the immigrants, that's one of the things that has always bugged the crap out of me. Because I grew up with already my family living in America, what benefits did I get? Jack. I got nothing.
For what? I'm sorry. I
Just
zoned out.
being a kid growing up in America.
Oh, okay. Oh,
But,
yeah.
But if you're a immigrant coming in, here's a whole bunch of money for you and a phone and everything. And I'm all for helping people get started with stuff. I'm all for that. But I'm actually not saying that where's my cut. I'm saying that the more we, as the government, help people out, the more social programs you have, the closer you are to socialism.
Yeah. There are single parents out there, moms and dads, that could totally profit, or not profit, but utilize their own business, and that they don't get the kind of things that people that come into America do, and it's kind of sad. I've seen a lot of things that just is really heartbreaking.
Yeah, I would vote for the Argentinian president.
Someone said Forrest
president.
Gump.
Forrest Gump, yeah.
Yeah, I do Forrest Gump.
I don't know. That's really tough, isn't it?
He does like to run.
I guess he does like to runs for office. I guess that's one of the hardest things is when you try to put so much trust in one person, it's difficult. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why I like having a Congress and I like having a Senate where it represents the people and represents the states.
Ooh,
I like that kind of thing.
Chair.
Did you see DeSantis backed out and is supporting Trump?
Ouch! Yes, I did see that. That's what we just mentioned.
There you go.
My bad.
You can sit too.
I'm like zoning in on the chat.
Okay, sit down.
Yes, Pee-wee Herman did die. Apparently, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's sad. Pee Wee Herman.
Yes, I'll have a cat and a baby, apparently.
It's weird to see when you saw Pee Wee Herman doing roles where he was not dressed up as Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah.
Paul Rubin was his name, right?
Yeah.
Paul Rubin? All right.
John
Yes.
Wick.
Yeah, that's funny. Somebody said that their cat won't eat human food. They won't even eat tuna. Like, oh my gosh, we open a can of tuna and those cats are like everywhere.
Yeah.
Or peanut butter. My cat's like peanut butter.
I'm not going to go beat up Bob right now.
Oh.
All right. Austin has a question and a super chat too, by the way. Thank you for the super chat, Austin. Actually, you know what? There's a question from Marsock Raider first.
Oh.
Naomi, can you jump up and beat Bob
That's
badly?
what she just said.
I can,
Oh.
but I'm not going to.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see that.
I have a bit of a headache.
But Austin, super chat for 99. Thank you, Austin. Could you see them, as in the military, lowering the requirements for enlistment if a draft came around? Disqualify for everything right now. They disqualify for everything right now. Yeah, I just did a video about this. I certainly could see that. What we see as far as when it comes to the military, United States has always been, the draft has been 18 or older. But I was trying to insinuate on this video that I made that just because the United States has always been 18, if you look at other countries, especially in wartime, especially imperialistic countries, not saying the United States is imperialistic, we're not going there, they definitely dropped the draft down. 16 years old was a very common number, 16 or 17-year-olds. And then furthermore, it dropped down quite a bit for the Nazis, especially toward the end of the war. even to the point where they claim they weren't drafted this age, but there's a lot of 8-year-olds even fighting the war for the Nazis at the end. So I could see that. It depends how desperate we are. Depends what happens. I mean, let me put it this way. Let me paint a picture for you, and it's not a pretty one. Let's say we do have the grid go down. And, I mean, name the sources that causing the grid go down. It could be a cyber attack even. And if it goes down for an extended period of time, we're going to see not just millions die, but hundreds of millions in America die. We only have about 350 million anyway. So could you imagine losing over half the country, sending us into war? And now suddenly we need to have the draft. And if we've lost so many people because of the grid going down, they're not going to have any choice but to take people who are younger than 18, then older than 45.
Yeah. Yep.
That is certainly a possibility. Great question, Austin.
How long will cases of individual little bottle of waters last?
Not much. Yeah, even if you have like just the regular bottles of water, there's really not a lot of water there. When you talk about how much water you're supposed to drink every day, not to mention you need it for cooking and that type of stuff, well, it doesn't. Bottles of water don't really last a lot or last very long. When we say a gallon of water per person per day, that's really the minimum. We've mentioned that many times because up here in the middle of nowhere, we've lost power for a couple weeks on end, and we live the life of not having running water. Now we do. Now we have solar generators and stuff. So if our power goes down here at our house, we're still okay now. But when we first moved here years ago, we didn't. Bottled water simply would not have cut it. I actually had a friend once who bought cases and cases and cases of bottled water. Then he realized, that probably wasn't the best. So he bought a 55-gallon drum. So what did he do?
2 days dumping water bottles into the 55-gallon drum.
Instead of filling up his 55-gallon drum and using the bottled water to go to the beach or something, he filled up his 55-gallon drum with bottled water.
Yeah, it wasn't interesting.
Which is really funny.
That was Blue. That was not Peanut Butter, the cat.
Oh, yeah. That was our female kitty cat.
Yeah, they have lowered the ASVAB scores. I saw that, Kenneth. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're like a little
they're doing whatever they can now. They're grasping at straws. What do you think about the illegals getting health care at the VA and veterans are not able to get health care? Yeah, that's bull. It's interesting. When I served, we had people who were not U.S. citizens serving, and after they finished, it gave them a preferential place to become U.S. citizens. So if the illegal immigrants really want to have citizenship,
serve in the military.
Serve in the military.
Yeah, I've
it's
known
a great
several
solution.
people that have done that.
Then you can get the VA health care.
Yeah.
But we both know even getting VA health care is like
joke.
Not even going there.
What can you put on windows inside your house to protect from nuclear attack? And an extension, plastic or foil.
Okay, so it depends on what you're talking about for protection from nuclear attack. Because there's two things you're going to be battling with nuclear attack. One is if you're actually close enough for impact from the detonation. If you're close enough, impact from the detonation, but still far enough away where you're not caught in what's called a superfire, because you're seeing a huge radial area where everything in there is going to be incinerated and toast. And I'm not talking about from the heat from the weapon, but the heat from the nuclear weapon causes anything that's untreated to catch fire. And once the fire catches in certain areas, then it becomes what's called a superfire. I've seen the same thing like in my wood stove in a microclimate. You put a log in, you light it, it catches, it's barely doing well. Put another log in, light it, it catches, doesn't do well. But once you get enough logs in there, the heat from all the logs help each other catch fire, and suddenly anything in there just bursts into flames. That's what you see inside the radius for a superfire after nuclear detonation. If you're outside that zone, then having something up, like even just some heavy-duty curtains to block the damage from the pulse coming in, the glass flying is the biggest thing you have to worry about. You can actually get 3M film for your windows, which would help it drastically. If you're talking about fallout and such, because here's the thing, people get confused fallout with actual debris and ashes from the fire. So let's say that you live near Denver. Every disaster movie always has Denver getting nuked. And you're outside of Denver where literally the blast didn't affect you at all. But you have fires and all that smoke and ash coming from Denver is coming to your windows. You need to seal your windows up from that. Plastic on your windows. But if you're talking about that you're not in Denver, but you're like, a couple 100 miles outside of Denver, out in the middle of nowhere, and fallout is raining down on your house, practically speaking, you don't have to worry about plastic on your windows unless it's also gale force winds. Because if you live east of Denver, a couple 100 miles, when you have serious high winds coming in, it can actually blow sand through your windows, and that's what we have to worry about with fallout. So that's something you have to be concerned with. Fallout itself doesn't typically blow in through the cracks of your windows because it's like the consistency of sand and glass. Now, ash from the city that's burning, that's a different story. That ash will be very radioactive too, but it's not going to be like fallout. Hope that answered your question.
Will filters take the plastic out of water? I don't know if there's...
Well, filters?
Probably
Are
so.
they
That's
talking like a Berkey?
That's a fantastic question. An activated charcoal filter. I don't know. You know what? I would love to say yes. You'd have to look at the size of the plastination, and most filters are looking at it like 2 microns, I think it is. And if that's the case, it may or may not. You got a super chat?
Mm-hmm.
All right, hold on.
I mean, if it's like a plastic bag, yes, you can...
Oh, yeah. No, they're talking about plastination. All right, from Jordan to B. For $5, welcome again. Thank you. In my area of SoCo, we had a decent rain for the past 48 hours, and I managed to capture 100 gallons of water that will be used to water my 4 citrus trees. That is awesome. Yeah, of course, in that area is usually quite arid, and trying to get any rains that are substantial is not very common. But yeah, that's awesome when you have a lot of rain coming down like that. Of course, that's why you have all those, through Southern California, all the giant rain areas, because when it rains, it floods there very quickly. Very good.
I recall, I cannot recall the person's name, but they're wondering if they should get their ham radio license.
Oh yeah, I would. If somebody asks, should you get a ham radio license? I highly recommend that. Even if, understand in actual emergencies, by the way, I don't know if you know it, you can actually use a ham radio. You don't have to have a license if there's an emergency. But I would recommend you get it, not even necessarily to use the ham radio. Obviously, you want that for that too. But it helps you understand how the ham radio works. A little bit on the better side. I mean, it's not like you're not going to be some amazing technician when you're done. But by studying it and understanding how radios and frequencies and everything work, it gives you some knowledge. So I would recommend getting your license for that alone. What is going on with her?
Is she teething?
Yes, she's got her bottom teeth coming through, and she's being very noisy.
Erica says, I'm by myself. I sometimes wish I had someone to help me. It's sad, isn't it, Erica, that in our country, so many people are alone, unfortunately.
It was...
Austin had a question. How do you go about starting a mutual assistance group locally? What I recommend is go to all the different places that those people could frequent. A gun store, a sports store, even the library.
Farm stores.
Oh yeah, Tractor Supply. And put up flyers and say, we actually like to set up a group of people who can help each other out, preppers, etc. And just say, you'd be completely anonymous if you like. I will be. But we're meeting at such and such place at such and such time. If anyone wants to come meet and just kind of get some community going, come meet us at these locations. And that's nice because you don't have to give anybody your name or phone number and such. And we get asked to talk to groups all the time. And the ones we've actually looked at here in Michigan, not even Michigan, but outside Michigan too, they are very serious about being anonymous. It's amazing how hush-hush they are. Yeah. In fact, one of the talks I went to go do there, I wanted to videotape it, but they were like, oh, nope. You could see they were like, And I was like, okay, that's fine, we don't have to.
Okay. Does mental issues keep a person out of the draft?
Does mental issues keep people from being drafted? It depends on the mental issue. But the ultimate answer is yes. Ultimately speaking, it will. When you look at the amount of people available for the draft, if they initiate the draft, they can be picky. The problem is, right now, with simply not having enough people to enlist, we have problems as far as, maybe there's not many people qualify for the ASVAB, so they drop the scores for the ASVAB. They may actually relax that a little bit as far as some of the different things we're looking for, like eyesight perhaps. But when they get the draft going, man, they have a huge pool to select from there, and therefore they can be a little more picky about that.
I'm going to bow out for a little bit.
Okay. You want it this way? Nika, what do you recommend for insulin-dependent people during a crisis? 2 things. Number 1 is you might want to seriously consider trying to find a solar-powered refrigerator. We have one we modeled on the channel. I can try, as I talk with you, I'll try to find the video for that.
Yeah, I've been making a list of all the questions.
They're pretty incredible, and they're not like, they used to sell, they probably still sell them, those cheesy little, and I'm trying to talk and type at the same time, it doesn't work very well. They used to have those, I don't have it on here anymore. Oh, I apologize. Let me type in something else.
I can talk about Pee Wee Herman.
Honestly, though, I didn't watch
Wow,
it.
I don't have it on here anymore. Maybe they discontinued it. Oh, I think that's what it was. I think the company who made them discontinued them. All right. Anyway, there's a lot of companies that sell these, but basically what they do is they take a cooler and then put refrigeration components in the cooler, and they're not the cheesy ones you buy for like $50 at Walmart with a cigarette lighter. Those things are junk, but they're true, actual refrigerators with freezer components. One I have, I can actually make both compartments freezers. I can make both compartments fridges, or I can make one or the other, and they're solar powered. And they also have battery too, so they actually can run indefinitely without having electricity. Obviously, you need to have the insulin you need to have refrigeration for your insulin. That's the first thing. But still, you're going to run out. The best thing you can do is when it comes to not having any medication for somebody who is insulin dependent, is you need to stay low glycemic as absolutely possible with your diet. As low as possible on your glycemic index. So obviously, any refined sugars, high things like potatoes and stuff, you can't even go close to it. The more you go to paleo, carnivore, keto diet, the better off you'll be in those crap hits the fan situations. Excuse me.
Are we ready for next question?
Ready. What's the next question?
All right. Is anyone discussing the fact that the Middle East is at DEFCON 1? I've been out of the loop lately.
All right. Sorry about the sounds on the microphone.
I know it's bad, but it seems really bad.
So, knowing the actual defense conditions at local areas around the world is classified. I've also heard from some people that they've actually gone to DEFCON 1 for Central Command in the Middle East. But it is unfortunately can't be verified, and it is nothing but speculative. But forget that. Even if it is DEFCON 1 or it doesn't matter. The Middle East is exploding. And Russia, who basically is hanging out in Ukraine a lot lately, says that World War III is starting in the Middle East. It's bad. And certainly that could be one of the tipping points for basically igniting World War III is the Middle East. I just saw a report that Iran very well could be as little as a week away from having a nuclear weapon. And they have enough material to make 4 nuclear weapons, which they believe they're going to be finished with those very soon. And Iran differs from every other power that has nuclear weapons for the fact they said very clearly, we're going to use them. They have no problem sending one to Israel or trying to send one to the United States. They've made that blatantly clear that that's what they want to do.
All right. Hi, hi there. Could you advise me on what I should get to start going solar?
Oh, yeah. So you want to start going solar?
Yeah, I'd like to start with a small power station that I can add on to.
All right. Yeah, I agree. Go with a small power station first. I don't have a Jackery. I've never been sponsored by the company. I get asked that stuff all the time, but there's only so many videos I can put out. Jackeries for the smaller units are fantastic. I have been sponsored with a Blue Eddy, and I have the AC200 Max Blue Eddy with the solar panels, and I'll tell you what a piece of equipment that thing is. It's incredible. So if you actually want to spend a little bit more of the dollars, I would go with the Blue Eddy AC200 Max, and then going up from there. Right now in this mess back here, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, it's kind of messy in the kitchen because I'm working on the next sponsor video in which I've been sponsored with solar generators to power our entire home. And I know a lot of people go with actually getting a solar system for their home, go out and get the panels outside and stuff, which I want that too. I don't have that. I'd like to have that. But getting solar generators first is the very first easy, logical step in that direction, because you can actually use sometimes those solar panels outside to even just charge up your solar generators, which is important to be able to do, obviously. And the new ones I have, which is coming up, it's probably not going to be done this week, but probably next week I have these new ones coming up, can actually be powered with pretty serious solar panels to get them going. But I would recommend a Jackery or Blue Eddy. I like Blue Eddy. That's the one I use, and I absolutely love it. We haven't had any in the past week, but we were having power glitches. Power is always glitching here. But it would go off for like 1 second and come back on again. It would crash my computer every single time. So I finally just plugged my entire computer system into my Blue Eddy, including her laptop and my other daughter's laptop and her ARP tablet and everything. And it powered all of our stuff. And even when the power went off, it would continue powering it for hours until the power came back on again. But it actually kind of acted like an uninterruptible power supply and kept everything going, which is obviously really nice. All right, good question so far.
If they're planning a draft, do you think it be in the government's interest to protect the grid? Because how can you draft a society that's in the midst of chaos?
Yeah, let me put it this way. A government, this is such a difficult statement to make because it depends on what kind of government you're talking about. A government wants people. It wants successful people. It wants people who are educated. It wants people who are able to do things. I mean, there's a reason why when you see countries like the United States, they have schooling, aka education / clone making up to a certain thing. And then they even have a lot of grants and stuff you can do to be able to get your graduate degree. Because the higher the education level of a society, the better off the country is for the fact that it's more educated, you're able to keep it at a higher technological level. So a lot of people talk about possibly an EMP toasting our country and bringing down the grid. And they talk about the government planning this possibly like a false flag. And if you're looking at just a rational government, they would never do that. The reason being is the government, you can't have somebody claiming to be the president of the United States who wants to kill all the people, because if you do that, he's not a president anymore. He's just Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo, see what I did there? Joe Schmo. But now, if you're trying to change things in the world and try to bring down a country to make a one world government, that's a different story. Then they're happy to kill all the people. But if we're talking about trying to fight a war for a draft and something happens like an EMP and down goes the grid, it could easily be a catalyst to be drafting the rest of the people. But understand, if an EMP or a coronal mass ejection or a cyber attack takes down our grid's down, but our military's not. The military will keep going. Even a lot of our government structures will still keep going too. And with this, they will get the news and word out that a draft has started. And trust me, they'll be knocking on people's door if that happens. Excuse me. I saw a super chat. Yeah. I know we have other questions, but I just want to point this out. Yeah. Lane Johnson for $9.99. Thanks, Lane. When you bring up a draft, you never mention mass riots. Do you honestly believe it won't be like the summer of Lover 100 times over in every major city? Oh, for sure. No doubt. But that's why I said it's easier for a government to win the hearts and minds of people to volunteer for the military rather than simply just yank them and say you're going to join the military. That's why I believe we're going to have some type of event happen, and it's going to turn people to want to join the effort. And still may have to start a draft for people who haven't been completely convinced. But right now our numbers are very low, and especially if we're looking at a World War III scenario, we have to have those numbers higher. And I think having some type of event which will motivate people. I mean, remember right after 9/11, there was actually for one of those national service ads came out that said they thought 9/11 was going to change us, and it shows just some random street. Then it faded to black, and it said, and they did. And when it faded back in, it was the same street with American flags everywhere, which was true. But that only lasted, it seemed like a couple weeks or a few months. But nevertheless, enduring freedom lasted for years of people volunteering to fight off all these wars everywhere because of what happened on 9/11. Not getting into what happened on 9/11, you know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, though, we've had countless people join because of that situation. So if we're going to see some kind of event that takes place in the United States, and it is a power grid problem, the government will find a way and use that as the motivational factor to initiate the draft to be able to make the numbers meet. Note to self, solar panels don't work with 16 inches of snow on them. Not very well anyway.
You brush that off. All right.
What about EcoFlow? Yeah, thanks, Texas Rob. I've heard EcoFlows are great. I never tried one either, but I know a lot of people stick by them and they like them a lot.
I have a list of questions.
Okay, keep going.
What about the aquatainers to store water?
Yeah, those are great. Yeah, we've got a bunch of aquatainers.
Can water last a long time in it?
Yeah, they sure can. I would still put like some bleach in the aquatainer water to, let's say one parasite gets in there, a single-celled organism or bacteria, whatever, and they can multiply in the water. They need usually light coming in to be able to sustain for energy. But nevertheless, if you put a concentrated bleach in there, a few drops, depending on what the concentration is, 5 or 6 is usually the good number, but bleach concentrations have changed now. Just to be on the safe side. But aquatainers are great. The only downfall to aquatainers is they're pricey. But they stack well, they hold water well. And for us in our house, we have lots and lots and lots of jugs of water. But we have lots of aquatainers too. And the aquatainers are nice because we'll put them like right on our like bathroom sink, use it to brush our teeth and that type of thing, or wash hands.
Yeah. Okay, I'm probably gonna butcher this. I think it's a good option to use hypochlorite for water purifications. You just have to store it correctly.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you're looking at basically any type of chlorine derivative, it has to be stored correctly. And you always have to look at concentrations too. I'll probably do a video about that this summer when it comes around, instead of using bleach. Yeah, the hypochlorite definitely works far better than just regular bleach does, but a lot of people don't like to commit to actually getting the hypochlorite instead of actually just getting that.
I don't know this one, but they asked. Okay, what do we hope for the Houthi situation? They seem to be laughing at Biden's posturing.
Oh, yeah.
But do we want another conflict to fund?
No, it's not even a matter if. We're already there. For the Houthis, they basically have now intensified the attacks because of what happened with us doing surgical strikes. And that's what America does. We're all about surgical strikes, trying to take out areas. And unfortunately, when you see tribal systems, and if you've ever been in the Middle East, they often run on tribal systems. It's kind of like a family bond. Good luck breaking it unless you completely decimate the area. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Israel and Hamas. They're saying we can't simply just go back and do surgical strikes on Hamas anymore because it's infiltrated too many areas, so it has to be broken. We can't send some surgical strikes into Yemen to try to disable the Houthi. It's not going to work, especially because they're being backed by Iran. They're proxies of Iran, so they have unlimited weapons coming in. We just stopped a cargo ship with more Houthi weapons coming in for missiles. So go ahead and surgical strike all you want to. It's not going to do much. I'm not saying it won't do anything, but it's not going to do a whole lot.
Sorry, Grey Woman 79 said, I'm no chemist. I'm probably just going to die trying to get a drink of water.
Yeah, probably. As will a lot of us.
Oh.
Yeah, we've all seen Mad Max. Mad Max is, he had canned dog food to eat.
Oh, yeah.
And he had gasoline for his car, but water was the thing they did not have.
Yeah, how did they get... I mean, isn't it like a whole movie of them trying to find water?
Yeah, that's Beyond Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Beyond Waterdome.
Waterdome. All right, I'm in Ohio and getting ready to move into my Sprinter van. Besides water and food, what is the one or two most important things you need to know or buy? Well, drive the van.
Oh yeah, for Sprinter van, that's great, by the way. I love that kind of stuff. It's just fun. But if you're talking about like prepping and everything, I would certainly have something in there to protect yourself, because where you go, I mean, right now on the city streets in the United States, they're relatively calm, but this is, after all, 2024. And it very well, I think years later, they'll look back and say, wow, remember 2024, how bad it was? I think that's what we're going to be looking at a little bit later on. So since these vans tend to stand out quite a bit, I would be very careful about that and find a way to protect yourself. But obviously have some of just the basic necessities in there as far as like to be able to cook and prepare your food and everything. I would stay away from freeze-dry food personally. They're nice, they store well, but they're really expensive. You can get rice and beans and canned food for a fraction of the price, personally.
I saw somewhere that instead of buying like a Sprinter van, if you buy an ambulance, it's a lot better because it's like insulated and such.
Oh yeah, not only insulated, but it already has all the electronics in there to give you the power and stuff.
Yeah, plus it's roomy.
At a fraction of the price, yeah.
Yeah, and it's cheaper.
And the lights make it so you don't have to stop at traffic lights. Just flip them on, hit the sirens. It's good
no one's
times.
gonna mess with you.
I saw a question, I don't know where it went, that said that will diesel stabilizer help sustain kerosene? Probably so, but kerosene itself is not like gasoline. Kerosene itself lasts quite a while anyway. It already is a weaker form of a fuel, and so therefore you don't have to worry about the breakdown of the constituents as much anyway. I imagine the diesel additives would probably help some, but I don't know how much longer it would help it. That's a good question.
With complete collapse, what is the order of priority for a local community?
All right, complete collapse, local order. Obviously, the number one thing you have to do is make sure your house is protected. When you're looking at a complete collapse, if you're talking about not being in a major city, you do have some time. In a city, you have no time. You need to act. And your options are, you need to get out fast if you have a place to go. But if you're going to be there, be prepared to be there for quite a while. But cities are going to burn if that happens, a complete collapse. Out in the country, your first priority should make sure you have all your preps and everything in order in your house. But it's to make contact with your community and start setting up community sooner than later. Obviously, it's not as pressing in the country. a lot of country folk kind of look out for each other. But if you look at a complete collapse anyway, you'll see the country people out on their streets anyway, talking with each other, trying to be orders. And what I tell everybody is this, guys. Listen, we're preppers. It's not even just watching Goshen Prepping, but just being preppers. You are already a leader. You're a leader for your area. There's going to be a lot of people who don't have a lot of food, who don't have a lot of water, that need advice. And even if you've been prepping for a year, you still know a year more than most of the people in your area. So they're looking for leaders, and you need to be able to help out these people and coordinate communities. And that's what's nice about the military, is because in the military, they don't send you off somewhere all by yourself and say, here, go take care of action. You always have your team with you. Your unit could be large, could be small, but you always have people with you to watch each other's back, to have each other's back. And that's what you need to do with your community, is you need to set it up so everybody helps each other out.
We have more questions, but I thought you want to answer this one right now because it's cool. Have you watched the movie Leave the World Behind, and what are your thoughts?
I did watch Leave the World Behind. What are my thoughts? Yeah, so in that movie, it's so difficult to try to weed out the propaganda versus is it simply just trying to make an entertaining movie. I don't think there was anything in that movie they were trying to make entertaining at all. Yeah. It was all a statement. So you have to ask, what's the statement they're making? Because I know a lot of people believe that even just Hollywood puts things out there to kind of like give you like a prophetic idea of what's coming. I don't think that's why Hollywood does it. I think Hollywood does it. For example, there's a movie coming out soon called Civil War. And if you've seen the previews for that, holy cow. And why are they making this movie? Because it's a hot topic right now. This is a huge thing. Now, there's always little hints they put in there. Like even the movie Civil War, they have Ron Swanson, who plays the president. Yeah. And Ron Swanson is the most whitest white guy who is the conservative viewed, gunslinging, typical American prepper, even though he's playing the president in this. And from what I've seen from the preview, he looks like being the bad guy. And that's what I've seen a lot in movies lately, that unfortunately it's going to the point where being white, we are basically listed as being the evil people now, which is a load of crap. And again, I'll say it again, people talked about they need a lot of this stuff in the military for, what's the term? Not just woke, but political correctiveness. We never had that in the military. And every single race, color, creed, and everything, we got along as a team because we had each other's back. And if there is somebody who joined the military who basically did have problems like that, they got taught very quickly by the other people there that this isn't going to fly because we all looked out for each other. For the fact that they're trying to push this agenda so much really frustrates me. And I call it simply for what it is. It's racism. Because we've gone for years and years and years where they say white people should not be going off on anybody who's not white. And I agree. But it goes both ways. We need to have a time in our country where we need to unify together instead of calling everything racism, which is just a load of crap. But I got on a tangent. What was I talking about?
The movie?
The movies, yeah. All right, thank you. So Leave the World Behind. There's a lot of like little subliminal things in there. Like the little girl. Okay, there's spoiler alert, guys.
She was the only character I liked.
Yeah, the only character. And she was trying to watch that last episode of Friends, which was called The Last One.
Yeah.
And she was the last one.
I was rooting for her the whole time.
Yeah. And there were certainly some things that are portrayed by the Obamas in this movie. For example, the hardcore prepper, played by Kevin Bacon, if you looked at his house, the way he had everything set up in his house, it was very interesting. For example, he had a willow tree in his yard, which if you actually get the bark from a willow tree, that's where we originally got aspirin from. So everything was him screamed prepper. But what happened was when things started getting bad, they went to him and he's like, nope, not going to happen. Not going to work with you. But the biggest thing about his house is you remember what his house like, Naomi?
Oh, yeah, it was a very,
white colonial house.
Bricks and, yeah.
So the whole thing was based around colonialism, how white colonialism is what caused all this. In fact, even in the movie, they said that, you know what? America has made a lot of enemies over time, and it's simply just a reckoning coming back. There's a lot of stuff in the movie that obviously is fictitious. I found it to be interesting. I don't think we're looking at everything happening the way it did by any means. But when you try to look at the fabrication that Obama calls his life story books, which are all a load of crap, even the ghostwriters for Obama's books came out later and said he completely made this crap up. This stuff didn't happen with him at all. When you look at the Obamas, they truly have it set up that white people are the scourge of the earth. And that's what you see in this movie, is the white people are the ones who literally are kind of like the bad guys through a big portion of it. So I don't know. That's the impression I got of the movie anyway.
Do you put bleach in the water when storing or before using?
No, when storing. Yeah, if you could probably do it right before using too. But let me put it this way. I'm just going to give you like a quick idea. Let's say you put some water in a jug and it's in there for a year. And even if for a year, guys, I sometimes don't even put bleach in there if we're going to use it again. But honestly, I think most waters can be fine with that, especially if there's no light coming in, because you need to have light for energy for the organisms to grow. But, day one of the year, you have 3 little amoeboids hanging out in there. You put some bleach in there, it kills them. But if you don't put the bleach in there, those amoeboids could grow into multiple amoeboids. Now you have 2,500 after 365 days. You put the bleach in there, it'll kill them. But now you're still drinking decaying amoeboid bodies.
Yum, yum.
Nobody wants to drink those.
I mean, could add flavor.
I don't know, the way the
You
government's
hate
going,
drinking water.
we could turn them into an amoeba sandwich, because that's what they're trying to do now, right? Excuse me.
Is extra car battery to use for other things like generators? Wait.
Extra car battery, good to use for other things like generators or for short-term electric emergencies. Car batteries are almost good for nothing. Car batteries versus like deep cell boat or RV batteries, they're different creatures. They look the same, but they're not. Car batteries are meant to put out a giant amount of power quickly to start your car. That's their goal and objective. Because once the car's running, the alternator, which is a little generator, think of it that way, is going to power everything in the car, the spark plugs in your radio and windshield wipers, and keep the battery charged up. But once you shut it off, the battery can only last so long, a few months, sometimes it lasts longer, and its job is to put out a big burst of power to get the car started again. That's why if you leave a dome light on, it kills your battery. It's not meant for long term. It's not meant for just slow trickles of power. Deep cell RV batteries, etc., for your RV or your boat are made for that. Excuse me. So having an extra car battery around, unless you have a trickle charger on it, is not even actually a good idea, even if you want to have it in case you need to start your own car. Because the car batteries today don't last very long, especially if car batteries are weird. Let's say you have like a 3-year warranty on it and it's now 4 years old, and now you left your dome light on and it goes down to 0, that battery will basically become toast and won't even charge back up again. They're awful. They're terrible little things. But they do their job of putting out a lot of power at once to get the car going. The deep cell batteries are made, even like your solar generator have these kind of batteries, maybe like gel packs or sealed batteries. There's a big spectrum of these. They're meant to go down and up nice and slow. And they have like so many thousand lives they can do that and still keep going. So that's the option you want to go with. They are more expensive. They're often more heavy as well. But that's what you want to be looking for.
2 things. 1, Don says, bless you.
Oh, thank you.
And then everyone wants to know, actually it's funny how many comments just said this, how much bleach, or what kind of bleach, and then how much?
Yeah, great question. All right, so first off, no scented bleach. We all like lavender smelling water, but no scented bleach, no gel bleach. They purposely did gel bleach, by the way. It sticks to your clothes better for stains. Now, they know that you can't purify stuff with it. So that's the first thing. So when you look at concentrated bleach, if you look at the label on there, it tells you the percent for concentrations of the bleach. And looking at those numbers specifically, you'll have to determine how many drops. Some bleach has a lower concentration, you need more drops. Some bleach now has a higher concentration, you'll need less drops. And that's the funny part, is because it didn't used to be that way, but now it is. I think they did this on purpose. Who cares about concentration of bleach, you know what I'm saying? I made a video talking about how much bleach to use. In fact, I'll bring it up real quick so you can watch this video. It's important because if you put too much bleach in, obviously it's going to kill everything in that water, but you ingesting a lot of the water with too much bleach in there is obviously not good for you. You know what I'm saying? So let's see. I'm looking for it in here. I can't find any of my videos tonight.
Don't ask me.
Let me look up here. So anyways, I don't have, here it is. I'll link this. I'll put a copy of this in the comments. The video is how to purify water with bleach. I don't have the numbers in my head anymore. Things just going to leak out. So I'm just going to put bleach. And I misspelled it. Bleach. There we go. And if you click on the video and watch it, after the live stream, of course, it tells you by looking at the concentrations on there what to use. Now, there is a number, as long as you go like, please don't quote me on this. Again, my brain, I can't memorize things anymore. 6 drops per gallon, even if it's a lower concentration, something like that. But either way, but just watch the video and it'll tell you exactly how much to use.
5 gallons of bleach per cup. No, kidding. Don't do
5
that.
gallons of bleach per cup of water. That's called bleach.
What's China's next move and when?
Hold on, Kim says your voice says you're getting sick again. No, I'm still sick.
It's not leaving.
I don't have any symptomology except for my sinuses and just some coughing. Occasionally one of those little green things flies out of my mouth when I cough, which shows it's bacterial. However, I feel fine. I mean, I don't feel completely fine. With any type of martial arts or anything, I run out of energy pretty fast. But overall, I'm still not completely over whatever this crud is. It's ridiculous. Real quick for Anabor, aren't the Obamas producers of the movie? Yeah, they're executive producers, which, if you don't know the lingo, producers literally get everything together for the movie to be able to make it, including funding and stuff. Executive producers are the ones who back it and often even write it as well. In this case, the Obamas did not write the movie, but they used their backing and their money to say, you know what, we want this movie to made. However, we're not going to truly produce it. We're going to hire a producer to do that for us.
Yeah.
Therefore, they're the executive producers for it.
It was based on a book.
Yeah, there's a book.
Yeah.
Eric, is the cat allergy causing the issues? It could be Michigan daffodil. And also, too, I've been noticing that, I've been drinking a lot of tea. Makes sense. It makes you nice, relaxed, makes your sinuses kind of unclogged a little bit. But I do have a milk allergy. And I think I couldn't imagine the tea. I'd be allergic to the tea. It's Earl Grey, and that's just wrong. But I do like cream in it, and I wonder if the cream's been giving me allergies too. So as of today, I stopped drinking tea just so I can see if that's possibly causing the problem. Yeah, there you go, Kenneth. 5 to 6 drops from a dropper for 1 gallon of water. And that even if you have a lower concentration of bleach, that's enough bleach to make it happen. Does anybody have any tips for living in a car? I have a couple more weeks to go before I get paid. Sean, it's tough, isn't it? You want to just make sure you're parked in an area you're not going to get in trouble, obviously. You need to be able to protect yourself. And try to make your car look as non-conspicuous as possible. You don't want to have people coming in the middle of the night while you're sleeping to be able to break in and try to do harm to you or try to take your car. You got to make sure you stay warm, too. And I'm not sure how you're going to do that because probably you don't have enough to actually pay for like a hotel, for example. So having gas to run your car all night is kind of difficult as well. There is an option is you can possibly go to some place that sometimes has a plug. You can put a little heater in your car if they'll let you plug it in. Excuse me. Didn't realize that was Kevin Bacon. Yeah, it's kind of
scruffy.
I'm kind of sad Kevin Bacon did that movie. I had kind of a high respect for him and Kira Sedgwick, his wife.
I don't know. I mean, he was pretty good in the movie.
Yeah, he was good. It's just choosing that movie.
That's true.
Eric, you have a 100-year cough.
What?
And the good news is you'll live 100 more years just to cough. Oh, good. That's great.
What does that mean?
It's 100. I'll live 100 years. Just the cough is going to make me live that long.
I've never heard that.
Excuse me.
What about disease X?
Disease X. All right. So, I mean, I don't think anybody in here has this problem, but I think a lot of people have a big problem with it being called disease X. They think there's a disease out there called disease X, and that's not the case at all. What they're saying is they want to make sure, especially through the World Health Organization and our good friends called the United Nations, they're only here to help us. They want to make it so if we're actually hit with another pandemic, that they're prepared for this. What they're prepared for, that's the scary part. So they literally want to have everything in play to make sure that they're able to do everything that we saw 3 years ago and take care of it very quickly, more efficiently. Could you imagine that? And so therefore, if the next pandemic disease comes around, they're able to know how to act and have it all set up. That's what Disease X is all about. Okay, and I'm watching this. I'm watching for comments or questions too, by the way. And Naomi just left, but anyway, Betty Boop for $4.99. Thank you for the super chat. What do you think the likelihood of rioters, criminals removing professionally installed outside window bars? Let me tell you about professional or criminals overall. Criminals. Hey, real quick, TJ, I do have a neti pot. In fact, I just got it out. I'm gonna start using it. Criminals are interesting. They don't usually have alternate plan. They usually kind of go with the flow. So I don't like this attitude or mentality, but this does help you out. If they see 5 houses on the block and they see the block, hey, Ralphie, let's go rob one of these houses on this block. And one of those houses, yours, has bars on the window. They don't think mentally like, hey, we should take the bars off because I bet they have better TVs in the house than those other 4. Yeah. That's not what they look for. They look for the easiest way to do their job. That's what the overall criminals think. Mm-hmm. Same thing when it comes to violent attacks on you. That's one of the things we practice with Krav Maga. Is with this, you want to make sure you always walk with confidence. You want to make them to think that you're not going to be a very easy target. And instead of them saying, you know what, that's fine, I'll just go home, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, I'm not going to mess with this person. That person over there is a better target. And I don't like shifting criminals to a new target, obviously, but you need to make sure you account for yourself first at least. And bars under your window is a great idea. You don't have to worry about yourself getting out if there's a fire, obviously. But usually what happens in that situation, they'll just move on to the next house instead of saying, oh, you know what, bars, let's see if we can remove them. I'm going to make it clear, though. I don't care what you have in your house. Bars on the windows, metal doors with a giant crossbar in your door. If a criminal wants in, they're getting in. Yeah. It's easy enough to simply just take those metal bars, hook a hook to their car, and gun it. It's probably going to rip it right off from the wall or rip their bumper off. I've seen some bumpers on some of these cars. If they want in, they're in. But what it does, as you know the old term, it keeps honest people honest. In this case, it deters thieves from trying to break in your house and instead sending them to your neighbor's house. Excuse me.
It's like the same thing with walking down the street. Like, have you seen that?
Oh, yeah. Same thing, especially walking down the street. From Patience, Eric, what do you think about digital IDs and what's the government's long-term plan for them? Yeah, they sure are pushing that, aren't they, for real IDs? I think it comes down to simply put, the government wants not necessarily right now the control over the people with this, but they want to know exactly who is in the country and what they do and everything else. The RFID chips basically in these cards, by the way, like your driver's license, if you don't have the sleeve for it, can be picked up anywhere. And I mean, like, I don't know if you know it, but the original intention was Bluetooth, by the way, wasn't about trying to get your headphones connected to your phone. That was never the idea. They actually were trying to make it so if you picked up your phone, you could literally go to your vending machine and get your Coke, use your phone to pay your taxi. And that's how they're doing it in China, by the way. So I think ultimately they want to have it so there's a digital record fingerprint like your phone does of everybody everywhere. And that's why it's RFID. And it's interesting that you can actually block the RFID pretty easily on this. But you have to wonder why, if it's just real ID, they even have the RFID in the first place. And what do you need it for? Some of the biggest things like travel and such. So as we're shifting from, if you see these videos, I've been putting them out, they are literally trying to make it by 2030, barely anybody will be driving their own cars. Either A, they'll have self-driving cars, B, they'll be taking Ubers and such everywhere. And I think we're looking at RFIDs for those situations. I think they don't necessarily want to look at impending freedom yet. I think that's coming later, but they certainly do want to know where everybody is. And that's important too when you look at gatherings and such.
Did you answer the super chat? Is that what you were answering?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know.
Because you're talking about bars in the windows.
Oh, yeah, that's what I answered. I'm trying to look for other questions too.
People are talking about the neti pot. Some people say use it. Other person said be careful with it because you can get a sinus infection from using it.
Sure. The biggest thing with a neti pot, you do have to worry about the water having things like Naegleria pylori in it, like the different types of amoeboids that like eat your brain and stuff, although it's exceedingly rare. If you have enough salt in there, the salt will dry out your sinuses. It may kill some of the bacteria living in your sinuses. But on that same note, you're also drying out your sinuses, which will actually cause an excess secretion from the mucus layers in your sinuses too. So it is a balance. But nevertheless, I've hit a point where I've had this sinus thing going on for a couple months, and I'm really tired of it. I notice when I use my colloid nasal spray, it certainly helps. But using colloid nasal sprays all the time isn't always the best thing either. So I'm going to start using the neti pot. So we pulled it out. It's actually sitting on the counter. One of my little kitties keeps trying to grab it and drink from it. Or like, that goes in your nose, leave it alone. But, kids are.
Do you have any advice of prepping for an apartment?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the prepping advice for apartment isn't as much as the food goes. Although you really want to look for foods in your apartment that don't require cooking. Best thing by far, canned food. The reason being is if you're in an apartment and the crap hits the fan or it goes down for power outage for a while, not only do you want to actually have food that maybe like a candle can warm up for you, but cooking is getting more difficult. You can't really easily, a lot of times anyway, put like a grill on your balcony. If you can, you may have people coming to your house. So you want to be able to have food that you can eat from the can already ready. And obviously stuffing it in every little place that you possibly could have it, like underneath beds and stuff, is the way to go. When I was on submarines years ago, they would literally line the bottom of the submarines, the floors, with canned food that you have to walk on for a while until the food starts to get eaten over time.
Did people like slip on them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not as much as you think because it has the little gratings on there. I've slipped a couple times. Holy cow. That's one of the things you want to look at. Secondly, you want to make it look like your apartment is not occupied. That's the important part too. So I don't know if you want to try to get invested in blackout curtains, and that way inside your apartment you have some lights and maybe a crank radio so you don't go nuts without having light coming in. Yeah. But you want to make it look like you're not there. And aromas of food is one of the biggest things for that too. On that note, I just mentioned, somebody said, what do you do about fallout in an apartment? The fallout for the apartment in an apartment building, I saw that you were on the first out of 3 floors, is actually the same for a house too, by the way. Because when you look at radiation, like fallout, there's 3 things when it comes to radiation: time, distance, and shielding. Time is how much time you spend in that radiated area. And ready, you're a prepper. As little time as possible. If fallout happens, it's raining on my head, some sand and glass and stuff. You need to get in and wash it off as fast as possible. Yeah. Time is important. Shielding, almost not going to happen for most people. And I'm not talking about just apartments, but for built houses too. You have to have over a foot thick of lead. Who has that? For concrete, it's like, I don't have the numbers, like 10 or 12 feet. Earth is like 30 feet. It's incredible how much shielding to be able to stop gamma rays. It's almost not even like worth trying. Distance is what you want to shoot for. So look to see where the fallout's outside. I mean, if you have a Geiger counter, which I always talk about my Geiger counter. I love my Geiger counter.
Well, we get so many questions about it.
And I even grabbed it. So I wonder if I'd be using it tonight. So your Geiger counter will tell you if you have some high radiation area. So like in our house, being in the basement is what you want, but being in the center of the basement or away from the fallout. Let's say for some reason there were some kind of like heavy winds and all the fallout's on that side of the house. I may find that being in the basement on that side of the house is going to be better because distance is the key. And that's why this will tell you the distance. You want to stay away from the fallout as much as possible, radiation. So if you're on the first floor of a 3-story apartment building, that's the best floor you want to be on because the roof of the building is going to have fallout on it too. But you need to be in the center of that first floor, away from the fallout, which is just outside the walls. The hardest thing about fallout is since it's so highly radioactive, people think that they can't see it and stuff or smell it, and it must not be a problem while you're getting irradiated and you don't even know it. That's where the dangerous part comes in.
Since we're kind of talking about that, can you suggest a good trauma kit for first aid? I saw your recommendations on another video, but what's most important for a first aid?
Actually, I wish I could give you specifically in this video. I'm actually just about to start a series. And in fact, if you look behind Naomi, you can see Bob back there with a mustache. And right next to Bob, he's being hugged by a white dummy. Yeah. You bring a dummy over? Yeah. You can have him sit with us?
Yeah.
And I'm actually starting a new series in which I'm going to have him more stuffed. He's kind of limp. And we're going to start doing first aid videos using this dummy, which will be kind of fun.
We call him Bod. Like no body.
Bod? No bod.
Yeah, it's from a book.
Hey, baby. Okay. So we're going to start using this guy. He has like very grotesque monster hands, though.
That's like the weirdest thing.
And starting first aid. Because I really think it'd be advantageous to actually have kind of like a first aid course. I mean, I'm going to be going through a whole bunch of stuff to show you how to do some of the basics. And it's not simply just like, if you see this, then do this. But I'll actually tell you, as a doctor's perspective, the best way to handle a lot of this first aid situation. So anyways, that is coming soon to a channel called Goshen Prepping near you.
How long can pre-filled 5-gallon clear containers be stored?
You're talking about
I
probably
think
with water?
Water.
5-gallon containers? Now, here's the thing. As long as the plastic containers don't rupture. Because when you look at like milk cartons, that's great. They hold a gallon. But they're so flimsy, they break apart so easy. 5-gallon containers are usually more hefty. And if you have the bleach in there, although over a few years they may have a little plastination there, they could actually last for decades like that without any type of infiltration of organisms, because it's basically a sterile container once you put the bleach in there. Grid goes down. What do you need? What's the first thing to do? How do you contact people? Yeah, that's a great question. First, I'm going to go backwards on that. Contacting people is going to be the most difficult part. And if the grid goes down, you may consider driving,
He does look drunk.
15 minutes. I know he does look drunk. 15 minutes to get your Aunt Bertha to come to your house or something, but everything's going to be jam-packed. You need to have things set up ahead of time, like meeting locations in case this happens. Contacting people, unless you have some walkie-talkies for short range, CBs for decent range, ham radios for long range, shortwave for really long range, you need to have that stuff ahead of time if you're going to try to contact people. The first thing you do when you talk about the grid going down, though, you are now in a crap hits the fan situation instantly. It is now time to put all your preps into action, because it's not the power being out. Oh no, my freezer's going down. Although that's something you want to take care of too, is taking care of your freezer. That's one thing, and the food in there. But it doesn't take long for people to start rioting and causing problems in a blackout situation. And if you're in a city, especially, that's what I talked about in the prepping video, is it's time to cover up your curtains. If you're not able to get out of the city in a matter of 12 hours, you need to hunker down and be ready. Unfortunately, your building may catch on fire in the meantime. But there's not going to be any water. All that stuff's going to be gone. That's something you have to seriously consider. If you're actually on the first floor, you're going to see sewage backing up. That is basically one of the worst case scenarios. People think like an all-out nuclear war is the worst case scenario. At least you may get vaporized quickly in that. If we're talking about crap hits the fan with a grid down situation, they estimate 90% of America is going to die. Harshly.
That's a lot of people.
Painfully.
Yeah.
What? I know, seriously.
Do you believe there's a society/technology reset every 100 to 200 years?
What's that now?
Do you believe there's a society/technology reset every 100, 200 years?
Oh, yeah. No, not only do I think that, but it's been proven.
Yeah.
Ray Dalio has done the research on this, and he actually has it mapped back going 500 years, that every cycle continues. I forgot how many years in this cycle. It's like 120 years or something like that things recycle. And this has been traced back for hundreds of years. Yeah, so there's not even just a matter of guessing. It's clear, very clear. And we're up to the point where, unfortunately, we may be shifting out of us, in America, in our cycle here, unfortunately. Guys, I'm only going to go a couple more minutes. So I think Naomi has a whole bunch of questions.
I only have 5, but
Okay.
I can jump. After am I allowed to say pew-pew?
Pew-pew is good, yeah.
Okay. After a pew-pew, what is the next best thing to use for protection if someone or people get in your home? They said that their state doesn't allow it.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually trying to talk to a company right now called Byrna, which they are not truly pew-pews because they're CO2 canister ones. That's something you may want to consider also. But now here's the thing. People think that the best thing to have in your home is like a baseball bat. Those things, I could take a baseball bat from somebody in 2 seconds. That's really easy. Pew-pews are great because if somebody doesn't know what they're doing, people kind of get close. Hey, you, and I'll take it out of their hands in 2 seconds. That's why if you ever watch somebody who knows how to use one, they'll always stay at least an arm's length back. That way it's more difficult to grab. Baseball bats are even easier. Things that somebody could swing to try to hit you, it's really easy to disarm someone. I am a big knife guy. And when I talk about knives, I mean even use them tactically speaking to be able to protect you and your family. But the thing is, and what's important about that is you need to understand that you have to practice with them. Whatever you choose, you have to practice. And if you're going to get in a knife battle, even if you are tactically trained like I am, you're going to get cut. That's all there is to it. You're going to get cut. Especially if they'll have a knife too, I'm sure.
Someone said a cannon at the front door.
A cannon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I support that.
I loved the movie Tremors. Remember Tremors?
I barely remember it, man.
And the run prepper on there was like, hey, quick, run down and get my cannon fuse.
What?
And they go, what do you have a cannon fuse for? And he goes, my cannon, of course.
Oh my gosh.
It was a great comment.
I need to watch that again. I do not remember that.
Yeah, throwing knives. We have lots of throwing knives. And unless you're actually well-versed at throwing knives, it's not an easy task.
No.
We've got like sets of these things. And that's what we do as a family, by the way. The whole family goes outside. We practice throwing knives and all that stuff. Throwing stars.
Throwing axe.
Yeah.
Do the buddy heaters work well?
They do. Yeah, they do work well. And they're nice, too, because even though any combustion, by the way, you need to understand this. Any combustion, if you even have a candle, any combustion releases carbon monoxide. People think that certain things don't. Everything does. But you have to look at the amount of carbon monoxide being produced. The more heat being pushed, the more fire, for example, if you have a furnace, the more carbon monoxide being produced. Buddy heaters are great at putting out a decent amount of heat while limiting the amount of carbon monoxide killing you and your family, which is always a bonus to stay warm and not die. Oh. I always still recommend having a carbon monoxide detector, a battery-powered one that doesn't even need the grid. But yeah, buddy heaters are awesome. They're really nice little systems. We also have a kerosene burner that we have used for decades. They're those giant metal cage ones and stuff. Yeah. And I don't know, now it got to the point where I love the smell of them. You know?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. We're talking about Kevin Bacon a lot because he's
6 degrees to Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I have a really good friend that he is now learning to be one of our instructors in martial arts. He goes, everybody has 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon? It's his cousin, right?
Yeah, it's his cousin.
It's actually his cousin. And I was like, wow, that's like 1 degree from Kevin Bacon.
It's like, was it 2 Kevin Bacon points?
Yeah, right. Yeah, Kevin Bacon points. So
CC said something cool. Put a knee-high stocking on the end of your baseball bat. Then when they grab it, it slides off. And then you can swing and hit them.
The thing is, I know for me, like Krav Maga, if they swing a bat at me, it's not about trying to take their bat. I'll stop the bat and do what's called combatives against you.
But most people don't know
I was about to say, but most people I don't think know how to do that kind of stuff.
Then feel free to hit them with a bat.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I saw a question on here. Actually, here's a different one. From Mary Jane. What type of self-defense do you suggest for a 57-year-old to start with? That's great, Mary. At 57, do not think that that's too old to do martial arts by any means. If you have a decent place that does Krav Maga, in my opinion, Krav Maga is the #1 martial arts that truly teaches you self-defense to be able to actually protect yourself. Now, unfortunately, I find a lot of people when it comes to martial arts don't necessarily go into truly just trying to protect themselves, but also want to get in shape, and that's good. There's lots of other ones you can get into too. Like we do a lot of Taekwondo. I teach in our classes Taekwondo and Krav Maga techniques. That's my main focus. But the Taekwondo is really about getting flexible, getting in shape, like kicking each other in the head, which again, really is just, there's something ridiculously fun about kicking people in the head. I don't know why. Punching people is fun. You can't walk through our house without getting punched or kicked here because we all practice like sneaking up at each other, try to grab each other, etc. And we put each other in arm locks, head locks. Yeah, just for practice.
This is my dad.
Hello.
My mom, his wife, walked away.
Huh?
Someone was wondering if we were married or for father and daughter.
Oh, father-daughter. Yep. This is my firstborn.
Hi.
Firstborn. So Ellie said ham radio recommendations. I have a couple ham radios. If you're looking at just like an inexpensive one, you get them from Amazon. The Baofangs work great. They're nice radios. They actually do everything you need them to. Your range is going to be less because it's just a portable device, but that's the perfect one to get started with. And then from there, you can actually get a bigger one with a more mountable antenna, which is always a good thing. Does living in the mountains make it safer for fallout? Uncle Pete. Hey, Uncle Pete Prepper. It can, for sure, because with fallout, it does run along water riparian areas. So let's say you're actually on a hillside and here's your house. you have a better chance of being washed down away from your house. Think of it that way. That's one of the biggest things. But also, too, the mountains, the weather and such changes drastically. I guess it depends on the mountains, too. Because when you see, like, mountains as far as the weather fronts hitting, like the Rockies, for example, that changes the weather patterns, which will change the way the fall is distributed. So although I think it may give you a little bit of advantage, it won't give you a huge one, I don't think. But there is a possibility it could actually help you out, depending on especially which way your house is facing. If you're facing toward the west, you'll have a better chance of fallout hitting your house compared to east. But it's not going to be a huge difference.
Someone said it sounds like we're doing the Pink Panthers movies where we're like sneaking up on each other.
Oh, man. Yeah, it is like that, too. Especially for myself and my oldest son. And for him and I, we simply cannot walk past each other without us attacking each other somehow.
Yeah.
And although I will tell you that there is safety involved, you know, like him and I both practice like knife training. And we actually, our instructor is a Cali instructor for our knife training. So we'll grab anything, weapons and stuff, and try to hit each other with them. It is ridiculously fun. It's painful sometimes because, you know, it's funny because we went for the longest time where, you know, he's huge, by the way. My son is massive. But we were always equal. We always kept track, by the way, every time we fought, who would win. And for years, I was always ahead of him. He would make him so mad, but I was always ahead of him. But it has switched now. And now there are some techniques he does on me, and he just knocks me across the room. And I'm like, gosh darn it. And I finally admit it to him. And he could see excitement in his eyes, like, yeah, I can finally get my dad now. But, you know, that's what you want as a parent. You always want your kids to be able to pass you up, no matter what you're teaching them. But his martial arts is getting really, really good.
Someone's curious about your Swiss cheese brain. Why do you call it Swiss cheese?
So I got an injury in the Gulf War. And if you ever saw, what's the movie with the girl that she can't remember things?
The only thing
50 First Dates.
Oh, I was like, Dory?
Dory. Oh, yeah, Dory. That's what it is. 50 First Dates might be a little bit more realistic example on that one, though. It's usually not that quick. But what happens is I can't retain facts anymore. I literally have had it where I will see one of my family members.
Hi.
And I'll say to them, I can't remember your name. And it's not a matter of like you get them confused. Everybody gets their kids confused. But because of this, the best way we think we kind of like pretend it's Swiss cheese, there's holes in there. And sometimes the holes are better than others. Sometimes they're not as far as times go. And because the injury I got, it makes it so this is why I can't practice medicine anymore, is because I can't remember all the stuff. Literally, there'll be days, everything's great. I'm sharp as a tack and I can remember advanced physics and be able to do quantum stuff. And other days, I can't remember simple words. And some days it works great, sometimes it doesn't. But that's why we have paper and computers, and I write everything down, and I make videos of my family constantly. And people are like, if you're making videos of your family, you're not having the fun with your family. I was like, no, I am, but I simply can't depend on remembering doing these things with my family. And sometimes it's really funny. We'll have a conversation, and it just makes my wife mad.
You've been replaced.
It makes her mad, where I'll say, don't you remember like a year ago we had this conversation? I said this and you said this and I said, and I'll literally just spew out an entire conversation of exactly word for word what happened.
But he can't remember a dinner.
I know, but I can't remember
Dinner like 12 times.
Although we can watch a movie as many times as we want, though.
Most of the time.
Yeah, it's like that.
So a certain time,
So sometimes I'll watch a movie. It was like, this movie's awesome. Or like, we just watched this movie like 6 months ago. I'm like, this is great. So it's kind of nice sometimes.
We have 2 questions I see. There was another one, but I lost. I couldn't find it.
We're about done anyway.
Are any of the kids interested in following in your career steps, like
Which
doctor,
career?
military science?
You know, it's so funny. No. It's very interesting because I look at my kids as being kind of like my science experiment of which ones get certain genetics. Like, and I'm not saying Ashley doesn't have her talent. She certainly does. But like, I have some talent for art.
Yeah. No.
I love to draw and paint and such and sketch. And I'm so excited that not Naomi, but my other eldest daughter, my second eldest daughter, has taken that art and she has passed me. It blows my mind. I'm like, you could do the stuff that I've always wanted to. And there's even times where I'm like, oh, you haven't seen how to do this on Photoshop. Let me show you. And she's like, darn it, Dad. And then Naomi, she's a writer. I love to write. I've written I just love writing. I get excited about writing and stuff. And I'm excited that she is taking that one niche and past me.
Yeah.
She's so good at it. So when I find a lot of those certain things that I'm really good at, I can see certain ones spilling off to kids. Like, oh, you have this ability.
Yeah.
I still haven't found. Like, I used to fly. I love to fly, but I can't fly anymore.
I think that's going to be Toves.
Toby was interested finally in space. We've
been
waiting for a kid to be interested in space, and he finally is.
I've found none of them interested in medicine, though.
No.
Which is honestly kind of excites me if they're not.
I considered that for a time, but
Yeah.
None of them. I mean, there's a few more that might get into it. But
She has my writing genes.
Yeah.
And then I used to be a cop a long time ago, and she's got my
Detective.
criminology
Yeah.
degree, not degree, but criminology.
I like to paint walls.
Yeah, you're good at that.
I do like to paint
That
walls.
drives me nuts.
I
I
don't
hate
think you
painting
get that
walls.
from Dad.
No, but I'm saying Hannah likes to paint walls.
Oh, that's
She
true.
says I'm a
How
messy
many-
painter,
How
though.
many kids do you have?
Well, how many children do we have? We have 9.
9.
So.
9 science experiments. Let's see what happens. I have one last question that I see. I don't know if you have any more, Naomi.
I do
From
have one on my
Josephine D. I live 15 minutes from the city. How much radiation will we get? If you see a nuclear bomb going off in that city, you are in deep, deep trouble. You're actually right on the edge of the blast zone, but understand that the independent recovery vehicles of nuclear nukes from Russia are not very accurate. You may have one hit your house, but if it's dead center set on, if it goes to a city, understand the Russians aren't necessarily really keen on trying to destroy cities. You'll see more air burst over cities to disable the cities than unless that city is like DC. If you live 15 minutes from DC,
You're in trouble.
you're already in trouble because it's
Do
DC.
that.
But yeah, if you're actually looking at, if you live east of the city, the fallout zones, you're in big trouble. Just FYI.
I do have one. Someone said the baby will be a doctor.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, my doctor, when I haven't seen my doctor in forever, she's always like, so have any of the kids followed your
Yeah,
footsteps
she
yet
always
being a
asks
doctor? And I'm
every
like,
time
no,
I come
none have really found that path yet.
Yeah, Sam took her Taekwondo, love martial arts.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's big time.
Okay, I do have one question back on my list. Does radioactive fallout accumulate in low-lying areas?
Oh, for shizzle.
That's it.
I like to use those terms. I don't
Shizzle
understand.
dizzle.
Definitely does. Yeah, that's what it is. And especially if you're talking about heavy rains and stuff, it will go with the rains. On a good note, a lot of the highly radioactive material of fallout does become less in dose, actually pretty quickly. I mean, that's why it's radioactive, by the way. Here, ready for this? We're going to end tonight with like a little physics lesson. Have you ever smelled gasoline?
Oh, I love that smell.
I hate
Yeah.
the smell.
It's one of my favorite smells.
That's what makes it flammable.
The smell?
Yeah, because picture it this way. If you have a cup of gasoline, the vapors that are coming off are the particles that actually catch on fire, and that's why you smell them, because those particles went up your nose and you smell them. How long does gasoline last? If you put a cup of gasoline outside,
Not very long.
Not very long.
No, exactly.
Because the particles that actually are flammable will come off the cup and render it not as useful.
Water.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Same thing with nuclear. Why is nuclear dangerous for you? Because as the particles go through what's called radioactive decay, it's releasing particles, which are radioactive, not to mention energy from gamma rays, making the particles that are left there, usually, not always, not so radioactive. And so therefore you have a half-life. As they're releasing their particles and energy, it's making the material that's sitting there more stable, and over time, eventually it won't be radioactive anymore. So the more radioactive something is, the more it's putting off particles, the faster it's going to be not problematic for you.
I'm answering someone's question.
Science.
That is science.
So do I have a science kid?
Science kid?
David's
let's
kind of
see.
science kid.
He loves math, man. That kid gets up and does math.
Oh my gosh, I love math.
Oh.
I love math too.
I mean, he gets up and, like, that's his first subject he gets done. That's so funny.
I live in the Caribbean. Will any reactive activity affect you?
If-
It depends on where you are in the Caribbean, because we definitely have some strategic areas in the Caribbean that are targets. Think about that. We have Roosevelt's Roads, we have Cuba, we have Guantanamo Bay, etc., which are all places that are targets. So yeah, it depends on where you are to those targets. It very well could be.
Yeah. He doesn't
someone-
have the flu. It's more like a
No, I just have a
He
little
has a
sinus.
sinus
A sinus
infection.
thing is
Yeah.
driving me
those
nuts.
darn things.
Physics is fun, Christy. I love physics.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I meant to ask this. Is there another live next Sunday?
We're doing flooring, but there should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, redoing the floor. Yeah, we'll be live next Sunday. providing our internet isn't good.
Yeah.
Go down anyway. All right. On that note, guys, my brain actually held up pretty well tonight, but my sinuses are making me want to like not
Cough.
have fun. I just asked a couple more questions. How can we prep on a budget and get the best stuff possible? I've actually made videos about that. If you go through our videos, your best bets are sales in bulk. Quick answers as we're leaving. And then, is it possible to protect a running generator from an EMP? Your running generator,
I threw 'em in the
if it's plugged into your house, is going to get toasted. If your running generator is not plugged in your house, just out in your yard running, it's probably going to survive. That's a quick story thing. Because when you talk about EMPs, the EMP doesn't affect devices sitting by themselves as much, but things connected to the grid have a high chance of frying. So, there you go.
Oh, thanks.
All right, guys. Yeah, nuclear war map is outstanding, isn't it, John? That's really good stuff. All right, guys. Thanks very much for everybody coming in. I really had fun tonight.
That's
It
all,
was
folks.
nice. I was
all,
going to have the
folks.
dummy talk, but the dummy walked away.
Yeah, she threw
Sorry,
him
I
over
threw
there, and
him
then
in the
she didn't
basket.
take the seat.
I know.
Guys, I appreciate being here. Thanks for everybody stopping in and all the
night.
good questions and the super chats and everything. It was a lot of fun. We will see you tomorrow for our regular videos,
Yes.
obviously, and our live stream of Goshen News. If you want to come to that at 3
Yep.
p.m. Eastern time. And we'll see you next week on our channel here.
Night, guys.
Night, guys.
All right, everybody. Thank
See
you.
ya later.
We'll see you next time.
Alligators. Bye.